This is going to be a very nice improvement upon the old Certates. I'm pretty keen to have a feel of this thing and hear it too. Tiny little handle. Oh. I'm going to be 100% dead honest. That looks better than a Saltiga. Don't forget the rubber. Briggsy used to forget the rubber. Very bad, for real. Get so many comments about the handle side. I think it's kind of just whatever you want to do, eh? Some people like winding right, some people like winding left. This thing looks like an AI generated robotic psycho reel. Is this AI generated? Handle going on. Oh, she's so light. Like, I'm unsure if I'm even holding anything. Maybe it is AI generated and I'm wearing goggles. Feeling it for the first time. Absolutely the smoothest thing in the universe. So smooth, man. Unbelievably smooth. Like, actually ridiculous. I've been using soles for my light tackle for a fair few years. The sole's a good little reel, but this thing is in a whole other dimension. Am I like a high-end flatty spinner now, mate, with this thing? For me, I've never had a light tackle reel this small that is this high-end. Should we give her a listen? Wow. That is a different note than I've heard before. I'm gonna get a couple other reels real quick and we'll just compare the sound of them. I'm gonna say now that I think this has the best sounding drag I've ever heard on a reel. That's my call right now. We're gonna compare it to the Sol and to the Saltiga. So we've got a 4000 Saltiga, we've got a 3000 Sol, and this is the 2.5, the brand new 24 Certate. Let's have a little listen. Now I've had this reel for a while, so the drag's probably not as loud as it would be if you bought a freshie. Okay, remember that sound. Sol. Now we have Saltiga. Okay. Currently my favourite. Briggsy likes a loud drag, not only for his ears, but also for YouTube, because you can actually hear drag going when a fish runs. Otherwise, it's just like you don't hear anything, and it's less exciting for the film. And now, the new Certate. What? Dude, they're doing it different. There's something going on there. Like, listen to that. That is like ASMR for fishermen. Yeah, very tough sounding. This thing sounds like angels are coming down and clicking your drag clicker for you. I'm being dead serious. That's the best sounding drag I've ever heard. I could go to sleep to that, eh? Wow. Okay. I'm sold. The drag's the best sounding drag I've ever heard. That's good enough for me. I'm not super technical and don't understand all the ins and outs of this new technology, but air drive spool, air drive bail, air drive rotor, and air drive shaft is a new technology that they've implemented on the Certate. Compared to previous models and other reels that don't have air drive, this thing is considerably lighter in the way it's designed. It's not like they just use different materials to make it lighter. It's actually designed in a completely different way. And lighter means it's way more effortless to spin. So when you're winding on a fish, it's just like very easy to spin, and stop start is instant. There's no continual inertia that just keeps going forever. This is the shallow spool version. So I'm just going to be running 6 or 8 pound line on this thing. That'll be perfect for it. Beautiful. All right, let's crack open the 3000, see if there's any differences. I know the spool's going to be deeper, but I'm actually very keen to hear the difference of the 3000 compared to this one. So far, so similar. Big bag, small handle. Oh, different handle. Actually, we'll just have a quick look at that to begin. Not sure if it's just these models or that's the cutoff where the handle switches to a different shape. But obviously the 3000 is a much bigger handle. Probably just makes sense for the size of the reel. Yee! Oh, already I can feel it's a more sturdy reel. That's a tough looking thing, man. We're getting a bit more tanky here. I'll switch the handle over before we listen. Oh, already pulled off this side's little rubber. Cap goes on. Rubber protector goes on. Tighten her up a bit. First feel. Oh, it's still very light. It's slightly heavier than the other model. It's a tougher reel. You can feel that straight away, but it is still so light, which I think is the whole point of Air Drive, is to make everything nice and light and very smooth to use. It still feels quite strong. Obviously, I'm going to test this over the next year or more, and you'll see it in many of my films, which I'm very excited to catch some cool fish for you fellas on these two reels. Wait a minute. There is something about that one, the 2500, probably just the size of the spool, the shape of the spool. It still has that resonance, but it's not the same. It's a bigger reel, it can't make the same kind of noise. Oh, this one's magical. Yep. This thing's special. Okay, so the 2500, all you fellas out there who like the sound of your drag to be absolutely angelic, ethereal, magical, best drag you've ever heard in your whole life, 2500. Very special. The 3000 still sounds great. And I dare say, let's compare that to Saltiga and the Sol. Remember the sound? Oh, it's very similar. Now I'm starting to trip out because this is a 3000 and that's a 3000. So maybe there's actually just something about the tone that you get from that size spool. Saltiga 4000. No, because that has a similar tone too. Very similar tone. Okay, this is my judgment on the sound. And I know this is a very minor thing about a reel for most people, but for me, it's actually a pretty big thing. I really like a nice sound in drag. The LT 2500 XH Cert8 has the best sounding drag I've ever heard in my life. That's my call. Absolutely magical. I'll quickly give you some specs of these reels. This is the LT 2500 XH. It weighs 175 grams. So it's bloody light, mate. 5 kilos of drag. 5 kilo drag at 175 grams is mental in my opinion. I'll never use all 5 kilos because the line I'll put on it is so light. The spool capacity, it holds PE 0.8, 200 meters. The 3000, this is the 3000D XH, and you probably can't read that again, but it holds 300 meters of PE 1.5. It actually has 10 kilos drag, which is pretty mental for such a little reel. Again, I don't think I'll ever be using all 10 kilos of that, but it's nice to know that it's there in case you do hook up something pretty solid. All of that in this little package, and the weight is 225 grams. Only ever so slightly heavier than the other, 50 grams heavier, but noticeable. Like I can feel the difference that that's a heavier reel than this. This thing is literally a feather, and this thing is like a pebble. So there is a difference in the weight and obviously line capacity and the drag. This is a much tougher reel than this little fella, but they both have their place. If I was gonna design a reel, it'd probably look just like this, to be honest. It's like a gunmetal gray and black. Very stylish. Congratulations, Daiwa. That is one of the most beautiful reels I've ever seen. I hope you all enjoyed this little unboxing. You'll get to see all the fish I catch with these over the next couple of years. Let's just leave off with a little song from the most angelic sounding reel that's ever been created. I can't wait for that thing to be screaming on a fish. Ew!